All right, welcome to another episode from the Chart Reader. So I'm gonna cover the normal quant stocks. I'll probably add a couple others because really there's a lot going on in the sector right now, right? And if you watch my last video, I think it was on Monday the 12th, this is what we were looking for, right? It wasn't that long ago that I was wildly pessimistic, right? I'm not pretending I was, for the most part, afraid to trade tickers, right? All of a sudden things have changed, and really that all of a sudden it is the NASDAQ getting over all five moving averages on the daily. All right. When the ocean is calm, when the index is good, when the index is over all five moving averages instead of under all five moving averages, oh man, it's a night and day shift, and our expectations significantly rise, right? Obviously, there was a good bounce that has started since the 7th, and a lot of stocks really did start from the 7th. But I mean, my acceleration throttle, it's night and day right here. All right. I think the easy thing to say is we still haven't had that confirmation that we really want on NASDAQ. Hopefully we get it tomorrow. I think the only concern with that is the high RSI. But look, right now, NASDAQ's got me thinking red, red, red to green, 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 right? I don't know if we'll get over that crazy, but the weekly is still really low. The weekly is only a 45 RSI. It looks like there's some nice weeks in front of us. And if that's the case, that makes me have to believe that quantum might be wanting to come back to be the king of tech, right? The queen of tech for my girls watching this thing, right? It wasn't that long ago that quantum were the hottest tickers, right? You can throw a dart at the wall of quant tickers and probably hit 10% not that long ago, if not more. That's starting to come. And as NASDAQ holds this uptrend, oh, all we can expect is quant to do the same, especially as volume does good things, right? And look, we're actually even going down from that volume spike on earnings, right? But hey, we're at least at the 50-day line, which wasn't happening. And I'll get into all these technicals, right? But QBTS looks like it wants to break the golden line and run into all-time highs, right? RGTI, what went from a crazy gap down on bad earnings, all of a sudden today closes over that same earnings gap down candle, right? Monster, monster right there. QUBT, look, that was a big Friday, and I know this doesn't look that great. You know I'm always here respecting the doji, but really this isn't that bad a candle actually, all right? When we look at IONQ, this is a nice double test of my resistance, and more than anything, this is a nice real attempt at getting back over all the moving averages, right? And as you zoom out, I mean, there is some good green, 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 red, red, red. I'll get to it, but there's a path to 40 right here on IONQ right there. QSI, I haven't looked at this one in a while, and look, this thing tried to go, couldn't. Let's see if it can make its way back up to that 171. QMCO, big, big day today. Look, we can't get too excited about a big day, right? I don't know if this is going to come down to 1270 or not, but if this thing can get over the 14 range, call it 1410, oh man, there's a beautiful path all the way up there, right? ARQQ, another one. Look at this back-to-back Thursday, Friday. Friday, Monday. Takes advantage of a good channel, gets over that 100 moving average, and then nothing can stop it. And hey, I am seeing it push after hours still. Lovely, right? Looks like it's going to actually try to go to that 25. And hey, look at that. You break the 25, and there's a lovely path to 37. And my goodness, that's still a pretty healthy RSI right there, and only a 73 right there, right? So a lot of good happening in the sector. All of this to me is driven by NASDAQ, right? And really, as you look at NASDAQ, what does this look like? It seems like this thing has a solid path to 19,500. All right, I think maybe 19,400 might be a little difficult, and there's actually even a little bit of a high side to 19,000 like 700, right? So we're only at 19.2. Even if it just goes to 19.5, there's still some room for tech to do well, all right? So liking what I'm seeing, I'm liking the sector strength. There's a lot of harmony here, and oh, those are the things I like to say when we're looking and getting excited, right? So Before we do go any further and I give you more of my thoughts and opinions, what are we going to do? Same thing we always do, right? We'll take a look at the daily and the weekly to see how these things are setting up short term. We have our 5 moving averages. There are horizontal support and resistance lines that I do draw manually myself. And then when we are done up here, we'll use the MACD, RSI, and volume as our lower indicators. Hey, really quickly, if you can, please subscribe to this channel. Share this video online with your friends. Comment good or bad if you disagree. Look, anything you can do helps so much with these YouTube algorithms. But for real, just being here, giving me your time, oh, I'm so grateful for it, all right? So, you know, honestly, I don't even know where to start on this video. I didn't know what ticker I wanted to start with. I don't even know if I want to start up here and talk about the golden line, talk about volume. I mean, there is so much good going on here, and that's what I love, especially how bad it was not that long ago, right? I'm chaptering all of these together because really it feels like I'm gonna say the same things on each, and what we gotta do is just kind of decide how we want to attack, right? QBTS, look, on last week's video, I'm gonna start with the golden line. I kept saying if this thing can break the golden line and NASDAQ continues up, all we can expect is all-time highs, all right? I realize, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, all right? I realize that there were more, like there's higher than my line, right? Like obviously all-time highs is this little wick up here, right? Whatever this number is. What is that? 13 whatever. To me, once we got over this golden line resistance, once we basically got over 50% of that IPO green, all I can expect is all-time highs, and I mean we're basically knocking on the door of it, right? So excuse me, gotta love it. And I mean, look, you know, I don't brag about my lines, but when you doji every single day before you go, oh man, it's a good feeling. And again, when you're only looking at a single candle, it makes it just a little easier to draw a decent line, you know what I mean? But yeah, this right here to me is textbook technical analysis right here, right? You break an important resistance, you get 2 good confirmation candles, you've got a significant volume improvement, all right? I know the easy thing to do is look at this candle right here and sorry, this volume day and say, oh, I mean, we were at 200 something, we're now at 100 something. We've basically lost 50%. And for sure that's true. I'm not, you know, pretending that's not the case, right? But let's look back a little bit, right? We were wildly struggling to hit this 50-day line for weeks on weeks on weeks on weeks, right? I mean, we were nowhere near it. Outside of this little blimp right here, it was still basically weeks on weeks suffering, right? All of a sudden, we've been living at the line, and for the most part, actually getting at least 50% higher than the line, right? There's also been a nice little improvement from the last few days right there. Volume's kind of grown a bit, but to me, I think I'm actually focusing less on the 50% drop and more on just we're at least living at the average, right? Also, look, 100 million shares on a single day is wild. There are stocks that I trade that will never see this in an entire month. You know what I mean? So it's a big number to try to hit as your average. And yeah, this thing's hitting it again, right? And really just kind of zooming outside of this. Look, Rigotti living at the white line, living at the average, right? QUBT. It's actually been living at the average, right? It got a nice pop right here after earnings, but basically living. And again, you can see it just weeks on weeks of not being able to hit it, right? IONQ, not as pretty, I would say, but hey, if this thing can actually confirm and break all the moving averages and start heading up to the 40 I mentioned in the opening thoughts, I'll get to that shortly, right? But I think it'll find its way to bring some more volume, right? ARQQ. Look, this thing hasn't been as pretty, but as the sector does well, and I think this was a good transition from that IONQ comment, right? When the time comes, the volume will too, right? This thing was trying to get over that I'm looking at the 50 average line, right? It was trying to, good candle, no confirmation, nothing really good after. All of a sudden it just goes and goes, right? So there was a bounce, and then it went, right? But when the time is right, the volume will come. I think for IONQ, it could be tomorrow. If this thing can get over 35.25. I'll probably send an alert for that. 26. I'll go a penny over that. An alert is not an immediate buy notification. It's definitely a come check it out. But yeah, if that goes, I could see volume coming. And really, what are we looking for? 27, 14, 21. Let's just say a little more than 3 million shares per hour, right? Because there's 7 hours in a day. If we're at 3, we'll be around 21. We would really like a little closer to 4 million shares, right? But again, the point right now, I don't want to get into the technicals on this one, is we're looking at the white line, right? QMCO, look, even this one actually was kind of living on the white line as well before it had its pop and it had its day today, right? So again, to me, that's it. Volume is king, right? Volume is queen for my ladies watching this. And when the volume starts coming, not just on one stock, but on the entire sector, that's a big part of sector strength, right? So I'm loving the volume really across all of them. I'm loving the breaks of resistance or moving averages across all of them. Let's get into the technical thoughts, right? And honestly, at this point, I'm expecting all-time highs for QBTS. I once it got over this 11 line, I basically expect 20% after 20% after 20% after 20% until for whatever reason it says it's enough. You know, we just came off of earnings. It had a beautiful gap up and it's continuing on earnings. So you've got earnings going, you've got all-time high line breaking, you've got a NASDAQ that looks like it's got at least another 200-300 points, maybe even as high as 600 points still in room to run. There's a lot to like on QBTS right here, right? In fact, I think that's doing so well. That's what saved Rigotti. And I mentioned that on the last video, actually. I for sure used to say Rigotti was the #1 stock in the sector. I mean, honestly, a lot of it was driven by this, right? This thing was pushing 300 million shares well before QBTS. And truth be told, it's actually never done it, right? QBTS has gone as high as 260. Rigotti was the volume juggernaut. Look at that. Look at how many days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days over 300 million, let alone all these 200 and 100 days, right? So to me, I thought it was a good, #1 in the sector. It's something I try to identify. I think QBTS also breaking all-time highs and taking off is doing well. You can see Rigotti's also trying to hold its golden line, right? So there's a little bit of a similarity there. And yeah, a nice bounce right there after. And I mean, it's end of the day, my comment really is normally when you gap down like that on an earnings, you don't bounce back up. You normally keep going down. And to me, the reason it had this recovery, and again, I said it in the opening thoughts, look, we closed up here today, right? This earnings candle day actually closes here, right? You can see in the green line where I'm clicking, it closes at 11:55. Right? So the fact that we're today over that candle, oh, that's huge. That is huge, right? That's still a really low and healthy 66 RSI. I think that's one of the lowest RSIs on any of these dailies. Most of these are actually in the 70s, if not 80s already, right? So volume's there, RSI is there, MACD is positive, green over red, diverging on both. There's a lot to like here. And again, I'm surprised the earnings gap down didn't have it continue. And again, I think my point is the sector is that good. The NASDAQ ocean is that calm, and now we're basically jumping around stocks, right? So are we here right now? Yeah, we're here. My next expectation is going to be 14. I'm basically clicking at 13.9. After 14, we'll probably come to 15 and change. If that breaks, I think the highest I could see this thing coming up to is 17.88. That's a nice place when you're looking at a $12 Rigotti right there, right? I would say as long as we don't lose $11, this is very much bullish right there. I didn't mention it, but real quick, QBTS, as long as you don't go under the golden line, you're real good. Realistically, I'd never really want to go below 11.75, but yeah, nonetheless. Let's take a look at IONQ. Look, again, IONQ, I think this one, just like Rigotti, is well worth eyes tomorrow. 73 is still a low enough RSI for me to like it. There is plenty of room between 73 and just any sort of 80. There's a good red all the way to basically 37 and change. Really, I could even see it coming up to 39. That's kind of what I mentioned on the opening thoughts. I could see 40 coming, right? That's basically a 20% move, right? It's $7 for 20%. I'm only adding five, but that's a healthy double digit. That's at the minimum, right? So um, it's been trying, look, even since back here, it's been trying to, it's been trying to, it's been trying to. It's actually gone up since its earnings as well. And trying to is getting over all five moving averages, right? So one more time, I say it all the time, the eight moving average is a horrible line when you're under it. Even the 20 will slap you down, right? But when they're your best friends, all you do is bounce on up over them, and it'll help you carry over, resistances and moving averages, right? But yeah, there's a lot to like. I'll at least draw some of those lines that I mentioned. I think that 39 is a good line right there. If that breaks, really, we would probably come up to 45. I'll at least throw this one in there. I'm not going to draw this, but 36.50. Keep 36.50 in your back pocket. That might be a little tough, but really, again, I like that low RSI. I think it's got a good shot. QUBT, I don't think I've looked at this one just yet. Look, this was a nice Friday candle. This was a lovely back to back from the earnings right there, right? So clearly market liked the earnings. Look, RSI was a little high. Maybe this got hit just a little too much with the gap down from the AAA credit rating, but look, I would basically draw 50% right around there. I would say that this is over 50%, right? I mean, it's basically right there, give or take. But yeah, to me, I mean, I'm still seeing more good than bad, right? We are over all five. I wish we confirmed. It's still just a doji, but I think if we can get to even just 12, I think a flat 12, and I'm going to set that alert. I think that'd be a decent alert to set. Even a flat 12 could be good, because from there we're going to go to 1430, and that's, you could see it. That's my golden line right there, right? Maybe there's another golden line to draw, because obviously we try to break it and we made a move there, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep 1435. I'm going to draw that. I think that's a good line right there. I'm going to keep this one as the golden one. Obviously, if that line breaks, that's going to be making me think all-time highs. I'm not even going to draw it on this one. I'm just going to keep that for my next all-time high number right there, all right? Let's take a look at a couple other ones just real quick. QMCO. Look, I say this all the time. We're not here for a single candle. All right. I don't think I saw any news that really justified this. So I'm at least going to say I think there's a real caution that this thing might drop to 1270. All right. Personally, I would just wait for 14. If this breaks 14, there is nothing but red, 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 green, 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 red, 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 all the way up to 20. That is a beautiful percentage right there. That's a real healthy 66. There's plenty of room for that thing to make a push into the 80 RSI range, right? MACD is also nicely diverging and not that far from the zero line, right? So I don't know if this volume's going to hold as you look at it. I mean, this is actually one of the biggest volume days it's ever had. This was the, fifth biggest day? Excuse me, I should probably zoom out. Yeah, fifth biggest day. Look at that, right? So I don't know if I actually saw any news that justified it. Again, to me, it got over the 8 and the 20. It had a real nice channel to get there. It took advantage of the momentum of the sector, of the NASDAQ recovering from the gap down, made a real attempt at the 20 at the 200. And now the question just going to be, can you break the 200 and go? Or are you going to come back to the 50 and maybe even as low as like 12? So I think it's well worth eyes. To me, let's just see if there's more legs, and I think waiting for 14 makes a good amount of sense. ARQQ, there's a lot to like here, right? So we are over. Oh man, this thing is still pushing and is now actually at my line right there, right? So we're basically kissing this. My next line up there is 37, right? So there's not too much I have to add here. I don't know what the news was. I don't know if there was any news or not. I'm looking to see if there was any earnings. Yeah, I don't know if there was. Let me know. Let me know what was driving Friday and today's volume. But at the minimum, I mean, once it got over the 100, it ran to the line, right? There's not too much more I could say here, actually. This is pretty lovely. I would use 2175 as my low end. But again, you break 25, you got 35 all the way up there. So I think I covered all of them here. That's a solid 20 minutes. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you have any thoughts, questions, or disagree. Oh, you know I appreciate you so much.